Hello there, good people. Patricia here. And today I would love to discuss how important it is to cross pollinate your leadership experiences and skills and why it matters, right? So, before we dive into that, I would appreciate if you would hit thumbs up and subscribe to help others get more about this channel and all the algorithm things and all that lovely stuff as we continue to push forward this effort, this revived effort on YouTube. Okay, so here's the thing. I have served on a number of boards. I have served in a number of high level positions professionally. And the one thing that I can say that it's probably been one of the most underrated things and yet most very valuable is the skills and the knowledge that I learn from each experience and how bringing that along to the next one can be so valuable, not just to the job, the organization, the board, whatever, but to myself, right? Because there are things that I've learned over the years that I totally forgot about. I'll talk about that in a second. Like, I just totally forget that I even had that experience. But once you have certain experiences, they are literally built in to who you are as a person, as a professional. And so it's like it can't be undone. Now, of course, if there are bad habits that you've been engaging in, you will have to make some, concerted efforts to undo that. But even that is part of the learning experience, right? Is, oh my goodness, I learned some things that I should not have been doing over here. And I found out about it when I moved to the next position. Or maybe you're looking back and you're realizing, oh my goodness, there were some things going on over there that I didn't realize, I needed to be checking on. So, and I talk about this from the perspective, especially just weaving in and out of leadership positions, whether they're volunteer ones or whether they're paid ones. But that skill set that I've learned over the years in various settings, oh my gosh, it's literally invaluable. It's literally invaluable. And I have to sit down sometimes and remind myself of what I have learned and experiences I have had over the years so that I can refresh those skills maybe or figure out how I can utilize them in a different way. Or maybe I need to update those skills, right? Whatever it might be. And I think about this because where this normally comes up for me is when down through the years I get asked to uh, apply for a position, right? Um, as I was going deeper into working for myself, there was always that whole thing of like, well, if the right position comes along, I'll take a look at it and I might, step back in. And there's frustration with that process. That's not what this video is about. There's frustration there with that process. And there's so much I learned through that process. And here's one of those things, which is I would get presented with an opportunity and I would need to craft, you know, you know, uh, I don't do brand new resumes, but I might, uh, fix one up. But really it would be about crafting uh, my cover letter or intro, whatever it might be, and giving kind of a CV, depending on the type of position it was, of what my background is and experiences. And I, like, this happened time and time again, but I remember one um, time in particular where I was digging in to so many experiences that I had had that were not inside the 9 to 5 jobs that I'd had, but absolutely from the board leadership, from my speaking engagement experiences, from crafting all of these workshops and speaking speeches and things like that I'd done, not for work, but because I was being asked to speak at different organizations and conferences or whatever. And so I was doing that on the side, quote, for fun. And I came up with this document because I was trying to sort through and like, well, where did some of these experiences come from? I think that document ended up being like 7 pages. Now, I didn't necessarily send that, but this was me trying to do like a deep dive on myself. And I came up with all of this content that I literally had forgotten about. So much of it I had forgotten about. And I had to go through, old speaking files and old pictures and be like, oh yeah, I forgot I spoke at that and whatever. Because on the surface, I might look at something and say, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I have that kind of experience. Well, time out on that because we as women are notorious for underrating ourselves on something and thinking we have to fill all 1 through 10 obligations versus a man who might be, say 6 or 7. I'm like, hey, I'm good for it, right? That's a different conversation as well, but it's something that happens. And with as much experience as I've had with at top levels, I was still catching myself doing this years later. So this is why it was so important to do these little deep dives on what experiences I've had and where I gained those experiences. And knowing along the way as well that, hello, I have people who have vouched for me with what I did, right? I have chaired a number of nonprofit boards in my community and in my area, regionally, statewide. And again, something I forget about. I did it, I moved on, whatever. And everything doesn't stay on the resume, right? So some things get taken off, which is why I keep a master. Ta-da! Keep a master of all the things you've done. You never know when that information or content will be valuable again for you to reference, even if it's a summary of, hey, I've served on over 20, nonprofit boards and chaired, 5, rough number, but I, again, had not thought of it in those terms until someone was asking me something and I had to go like figure it out. And I'm like, oh, okay. I I didn't realize that and I hadn't put that in that way. And here I am now utilizing that information for my business, for my professional skills. Cause it's like, hey, here's a whole other side that you don't see that doesn't show up on the resume or, in the click through, but let me help feed this to you. Right. And so whether it's for your actual work that you do and get paid for, or whether it's for being recognized or being invited to serve on a board or to work on some next level project, I don't know, whatever it might be, do not forget about doing a deep dive on yourself and what are all those skills and what are those experiences that you've had down through the years that are feeding into who you are today as a person, as a professional, as a leader, and that can help you with where you want to go for tomorrow. I mean, another perfect example. There was a time I don't even know if I should admit this. There was a time where I used to say, well, I don't know, my business experience has not been as great, I did all this. Never mind the fact that I literally served on a Chamber of Commerce board for many years, was fully engaged, did committee work, all of the things, and became chair of this particular Chamber of Commerce, right? And as a result of my service on that Chamber of Commerce, was invited to serve on a special task force for another Chamber of Commerce. I couldn't make this up. It's the truth. But here I am, doubting my own self on, well, can you really speak to economic development in this? The answer is yes. And then even these years later, being invited back to be a part of yet another economic development special group where I'm literally coming in 4 or 5 times, maybe 6 a year to provide insight and input on the collective group of chambers who are working on special initiatives related to economic development and equity and uh, in our community. Yeah, but I didn't have any experience in that. It is so important to do the deep dive on yourself, y'all. It really is. Because those experiences, again, that you forget about and or maybe you've just done them as quote one-offs and just kept doing them and not recognizing it and realizing, wait, but collectively they are very powerful about a set of experiences or a set of skills that you have accumulated over the years, right? And so I highly recommend doing that. If you don't know where to start, DM me. We can, get you on the books for a strategy power hour. That is a paid one. That is not free work, but that is, an easy fix to help you pull together who you are and who you've become down through the years and where you're headed. And if you're a younger professional, like this is just as important because people will wrongfully have you believing that anything you did before you got your quote first real job doesn't matter. That is a lie. Because I know plenty of young professionals who have done amazing work in their internships, in their community involvement while they were in college and high school. I mean, y'all, there are some high schoolers who are doing the thing. I was like, what? When does this kid have time to do all of this, right? And some of it doesn't even seem real. But until they open their mouths and they start talking and they're very eloquent about the work that they've been doing. So do not let someone downplay the work and the experiences you've already had, especially if you are a young professional, if you're a college student. It's all about how you leverage that, how you compile that information, and then utilize it to make it such that it's useful. Uh, Not that it's useful, but someone else can see the value in it. That's it, right? Pulling it together, phrasing it out, and bring it, and not being afraid to bring that up. Because if you did the work, you did the work. And I'm always talking to people when I do consults, um, various ranges from young professionals to senior professionals. I mean, I have had professionals that I've had conversations with who've had years and years of experience who taken off huge chunks of their professional experience off of their resume. And I'm like, I thought you said you did X. And they're like, well, yeah, but that didn't end well, whatever. I said, oh, no, 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 no. What we do not do around here is ignore the value we bring to the table and that we brought to the table from our previous experiences. Because whether we want to acknowledge it or not, they are absolutely a part of who we are and have led to who we are today as a leader, as a professional. So we always give ourselves credit for that. I'm not one of those people to go make up stuff and like try to squeeze, what they say that term, squeeze blood out of a turnip. Like we're not doing that. We're talking about you did the work, give yourself credit for it. Acknowledge it, bring it up, be proud of it, right? It's so important. I know that down through my professional career, there are moments that I would prefer to forget about. But some of those experiences were very valuable to me as a professional, as a person, and helped me to learn how to deal with the next experience or some things and situations that came up afterwards, right? So there's always something to be learned. There's great value in those experiences and the skill set, y'all. I mean, the skill set that you can gain, oh my gosh, just goes without words, right? I mean, the experiences I've built and the knowledge I've built over my years of service on various nonprofit boards and professional association boards over the years has helped create this specialized knowledge that I have that I wasn't trying to do. And around strategic planning, around strategy, around governance, right? It's just a part of who I am and how I think. So, what would I look like trying to ignore that or push that aside? No, not wise. Would not do it, right? So, what I have to do in those experiences is while I'm remembering that, is say, okay, where can I gain something new? Or, I've served in governance of, for the last 3 organizations. Let me change that up a little bit. I literally have this conversation with myself when I'm looking to engage in new experiences, service opportunities, whatever, is making it clear. I'm like, here's how I would like to serve. Yes, I have this background and I'm happy to bring that to the table, but I need to grow in this way. And so I would love to serve in a new area in a new way as well. Don't be afraid to do that. Invite the new experiences into what it is you're doing, and that just adds to the depth of who you are as a person and a professional. So yeah, there's some thoughts there. So much more that could be covered, but just take take a little bit of that, right, and do that deep dive for yourself, with yourself. And like I said, if you need help doing that, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll drop the link for a Strategy Power Hour in the bio, because that's where you can just toss whatever you want at me for 60 minutes and I will, you know, give you my feedback on it. And it's really helpful to a lot of people to get that, right, without any long term commitment. And it's one of those things that I do very well. Remember we talked about using those experiences and that knowledge. So that said, I would love to hear from you. Like, what are some of the experiences and skills that you gained over the years that you forgot about, that you've ignored, and you realize, oh my gosh, I need to not be ignoring that, or I need to brush the dust off of those experiences and bring them forward again. I'd love to hear some more examples of that and how you're, making those shifts and changes for yourself today, to be more empowered, to be a better leader, to be a better person. Okay. So thanks for listening in, and we will talk again tomorrow. Take care.